great.
It's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Thanks for joining us. It's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour to find out about the new government financial black hole for housing asylum seekers. Is Labour getting a taxi back to its Corbyn days? And is sectarian violence coming to UK streets? There'll also be some jokes. I'm Josh Howie. Tonight's comedians are Steve N. Allen and Kerry Marks. There they are. Look at them. Man from Del Monte. This is...
Which one?
You.
Oh.
This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Josh, thank you very much. The top stories. The wait for a new pope goes on after black smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel following the first secret vote as the conclave began. A group of 133 cardinal electors began their behind-closed-doors meeting this afternoon. It's expected voting will resume tomorrow, and up to 4 rounds of voting can take place each day, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. A new pope requires a two-thirds majority in the voting, and white smoke will be emitted from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel to confirm a pontiff has been chosen. Elsewhere, Islamabad has vowed revenge after dozens of people were killed in Indian missile strikes last night. Pakistan described those attacks as an act of war and responded with shelling on the Indian side of the line of control. India says it launched the strikes last night on 9 sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Pakistan, though, says 6 locations were attacked, and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif says 5 Indian jets were downed. That hasn't been confirmed. At least 26 people have been killed, 46 injured by airstrikes and firing along the line of control. The Indian Defence Ministry said it targeted terrorist infrastructure, but Pakistan's Defence Minister said all the areas hit were civilian places. The UK Foreign Office has updated travel advice, urging against all travel to parts of India and Pakistan. In other news, criminals in England and Wales who refuse to attend their sentencing hearings could soon face up to 2 extra years in prison under a new bill. According to victims' families, the proposed bill would give judges greater powers to punish those who are absent, ensuring offenders can no longer opt out of justice. Supporters of the bill say it marks a significant step towards greater accountability in the justice system. Elsewhere, Liam Payne left behind a fortune worth £24.3 million and died without a will, court documents show. The singer, who was 31, died in October last year after falling from a hotel balcony in Argentina. Documents show Cheryl, his former partner and mother of his son Bear, is an administrator for his estate. This means that she'll be legally responsible for his money, property and possessions. And this afternoon, the King and Queen hosted the first garden party of the year at Buckingham Palace. Their Majesties, joined by members of the royal family, met guests who have travelled from across the country to attend. Guests are nominated by charities and organisations with royal links and are invited as a thank you for their public service. Those are the latest headlines for now. It's over to Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hi everyone, welcome to Headliners. We're going to give you the very best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. First things first, we're going to have a look at the front pages. Let's start with the Daily Telegraph. £4 million a day, the true cost of housing migrants. The Sun, Liam's £24 million for son Bear. Mirror, VE Day 80, here you are, don't lose it again. The Metro, Liam leaves £24 million to son Bear. The Guardian, Pakistan vows to strike back after Indian missile attacks kills dozens. And the Daily Star, never forget. Steve, hello.
Hello.
Kerry, hello.
Hello.
Lovely to see you both. We're going to get into some newspapers now.
Let's do this.
This is what I hoped was on the show.
We've got so many great stories. I just want to go straight to it.
So, the Telegraph, I mean, their main picture is King Charles, who looks like he's doing a Willy Wonka. He's going to do a little forward roll, jump up and be like, boom, tricked you. Let's hope that's what happens. But the main story is...
Proper song and dance, isn't it, the picture there? It really looks like he's going to break into something from
That's why they've got the umbrella. So
My Fair Lady, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then Harry's going to pop out and go, you didn't mention me.
My Fair Lady for the hat, but cabaret for the cane. I think that's... imagine that.
Yeah, totally.
But £4 million a day, true cost of housing migrants, 3 times what was expected. And of course it is, because I don't think a government has ever accurately predicted the price of anything. Overspend is what they always do. It's like when you first meet someone and on a first date, you know, she talks about her body count, which young people, they use that as a phrase of how many people they've slept with. Thank heavens. Otherwise, I've been on some weird dates. But, and this is not just this government, this is the previous one as well. They thought how much money it would cost.
Well, there was a contract that was signed under the Tory government.
Yep.
And for only £5 billion.
And now it's 15.
And now it's 15 billion.
And this current government said they handed us chaos. Yeah, and it's still chaos. So let's not pretend like you've absolutely nailed it. And the main take-home is, and this is going to blow your mind, it's quite expensive to house people in hotels. Who would have thought? Anyone who's ever stayed in a hotel would have.
This is crazy. So we're talking
But they're paying more than a normal night in the hotel as well, right? So basically, we've got veterans sleeping rough on the street, and we've got people coming from abroad being put up in hotels. It sounds like everyone's in the wrong bed at the moment. So private companies made £383 million profit from all this. It's now cheaper to send asylum seekers to Disneyland and hope they stay.
Well, this is... Have you looked into the pricing, have you?
Yeah.
So it's £14 to put someone up, like in shared housing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's £145. So it's 10 times more. Now, the good news is, if the government can sort this out and get the cost down to 14 from £145, then we can let in 10 times the number of people.
Right?
That's one
That'll make the public happy.
Yeah, no?
Well, I think everyone wants it to be cheaper. I mean, at the moment, the word going around asylum seekers abroad is that, you know, that they don't want you in Britain, but they will bankrupt themselves to prove it.
Yeah, this is ongoing and slightly terrifying amount of money that is going. And, of course, another black hole.
Yeah.
How many more black holes can we handle?
And it's growing and growing, and they can't stop it. They have no ideas.
Even on the front page of the Telegraph, like a few inches away from this extra 4 million, there's also the fact that we're now at £57 billion black hole because it's got bigger.
Yeah.
Because that is what black holes do, to be absolutely fair, other than Hawking radiation, which, you know, slowly means eventually they'll evaporate. They do tend to get bigger, black holes.
Sucked in more money. And this is because of the Chancellor's budget.
Yeah, this is experts saying it's not the tariffs. It's a really bad position for Rachel Reeves to be in.
It was the growth budget.
Yeah, the growth budget that has taken us the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, look, before we get on to World War III, let's go to a little sweet story here about the elderly, giving elderly a baby to combat loneliness. Now, I don't think, because old people, some old people get lonely.
Yep.
I don't think getting them pregnant is the right thing to do.
But it's worth a try.
Okay.
And you might have to try...
Is it the attempt that they like?
They're not lonely.
realised that was the plan.
They're not lonely for those 3 minutes.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean, you see the headline and you kind of think, don't just give a baby to an old person. Someone needs to look after that baby. Your other thought is that, you know, they sit around all day, they don't know what's going on, they wear nappies. I don't even need to do the punchline to that joke. It is such an obvious setup.
I didn't even write it down.
No one needs it. But, yeah, when you read the whole story, it's really nice. The school I went to was weirdly a bit like this, the comprehensive school. It was built as like this local centre. So there was the school part, there was like a daycare centre for the elderly, there was a section for people with disabilities, and there was like the creche part all attached.
Which one were you in?
I went through 2 of them, and I won't say which 2. But it was good, because you grow up, like, not being freaked out by the presence of old people who don't know what's going on. Or
And you are. You would be, otherwise.
Go back again for these 2 more.
Well, we had a similar thing at my school because everyone was just very thick and graduated very
Fair enough.
It's you know, I do think you're right. I think it's a nice thing to do and it works, but there's also a cynical feeling that it's substituting care with symbolic gestures and throwing babies at them like emotional support meat. I don't know. I think it's what happens there with puppies for the homeless and goldfish for people with cancer. I don't think this is really doing a physical thing that's going to. I don't think it's really West Streeting doing something that's action-based. It's
part of his 10-year plan, and if it does work, and if it does, and I believe it has been proven to have a very positive effect on babies.
Yeah, we're hearing other countries have done it.
Yeah, Japan. It's a big thing from Japan.
That is the thing that Wes Streeting does.
Strange things in
He
Japan.
finds examples of stuff that's worked, and he's using the template of
right.
certain hospitals that work, trying to roll that out. And there's track record. There's evidence that this does work.
Well, there's evidence here. It says loneliness is deadly. Researchers found it to have the same health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. How the hell do you measure that?
Well, I think also
how do you measure loneliness?
What about if you're lonely
cigarettes?
and you smoke 15 cigarettes?
No, but smokers stand outside, so they're not lonely.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's right. They mix.
So really, they should just give people more cigarettes to help.
We fixed it.
Okay, interesting. Right. Well, let's go to World War III. Let's just get it out of the way. Pakistan vows revenge.
Do we have to, because it's not heading in the right direction, is it? So yeah, Pakistan vows revenge for every drop of blood spilt in bomb raid. They already talked about downing some fighter jets. No word from India whether they've been downed or not, but apparently there's some French intelligence, and they supplied the jets, almost confirming this.
Yep.
Of course, this is going to escalate because you get sentences like this that we will get revenge for every drop of blood.
You think it's a Telegraph that's a fault here?
I always think
should be doing Pakistan should just say, hey, dude, let's all just get along.
Always think the Telegraph's at fault, but no, I just think this is what happens when you get these conflicts. Borders are really great when you just draw them, aren't they?
Well, this is so. Do you think they're just talking strong, Kerry?
I think it's going to be OK because I've heard that the UK is monitoring the situation.
I know. I did hear Keir Starmer say we're going to both of the. Like, why are any of these countries going to listen to the UK?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're the ones who they turn to go. All right, UK, yeah, fine.
I know, but we're going to have to make difficult decisions like which one we're going to sell arms to, which so far has been both.
Not true.
I'm
you
sure.
sell it to both, of course.
It's what we have been. It's not great timing with the trade deal with India, but we'll see how that gets affected as well.
Well, look, let's go to the Daily Mail. We're going to do my favourite story in a second. We have Iranians plotted to attack Israeli embassy in London. We can't really talk about it. It's an ongoing investigation. The fact, of course, that it was potentially against an Israeli embassy, that's not great. And also you have...
But for balance.
Yeah. And also you have elsewhere Nigel Farage pointing out that the IRGC, which is the Iranian National Guard, essentially, they should have been prescribed years ago. But we don't really know anything. We don't even know whether these men were definitely part of that group or not. But that's not good on British soil. Let's go to the best story. My favourite
Let's not dwell.
Let's do this. The top here. The real reason so many middle-aged women are leaving their husbands for a woman, by Julie Bindel.
Do you want to start with this one?
Is it boobs? Is that the answer? I imagine the boobs.
Okay, they go for you.
Apparently, I've had a look at the gist of it. It's true. What, boobs go for me?
I'm just saying.
Is that what you meant?
No.
They follow me around everywhere, Josh. It's awful.
Follow you around the room.
Apparently, according to Julie Bindel...
Don't call her Julie Bindel.
Middle-aged women are defecting to each other, and obviously it's very Bindel style. She's making this like it's a movement, a phenomenon, and apparently 10% of women are now lesbians, or I think it's 10% of women now consider other women. Which considering it's been taboo all of human history, and then now it's not only okay but it's cool. That's not particularly surprising. But this is odd because when you read through the bits I have read through, when men are doing this, when men are saying we're not interested in women anymore, they're incels and they're evil. And this is the female equivalent, which is like to be lauded and wonderful. And she talks about how women are fed up with picking up their husband's socks, which I can understand. Well, don't pick up your husband's socks. It doesn't mean you have to climb into bed with another woman. I get a bit fed up waiting for a woman to do her makeup, but I don't run into a men's toilet and see what I can find. So
not yet.
I think it's a bit.
You say that, I think the counter to this whole piece of men are so bad that women are having to go to other women. She's not even considered the thought that straight men also envy gay men. The simplicity of your life. I think there's a bias. Of course, it's the battle of the sexes. The women don't really understand what's going on with men. Men don't understand what's going on with women. We annoy each other.
I do.
We like what's
Speak for
what's
yourself.
in there.
Well, look, for me, one of my favourite aspects of this article is that it's evidence that nature is healing. Because Julie Bindel is a bit of a hero of mine. She's been very focused on securing women's rights, and also that means protecting children from gender ideology. And now it's like it's like maybe the war is really won because now she can just get back to hating men.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's like, that's great. Then it's like nature's healing.
It's always a good sign.
It's a really good sign. It's like, but there's a few things that I'm sort of surprised at her. Look, first of all, this is in the Mail. They do some heavy editing. I know from a previous experience that I have that they kind of take it to make these kind of statements. But one of the things that she points out in terms of this, like 10% of young women saying that they're now lesbians or identifying as lesbians, is there's no doubt that part of that is because it's become very much being part of the LGBTQIA plus spectrum has become somewhat fashionable. That's been proven within the Cass report.
Yeah.
And so there's no doubt that she has examples from going to a Facebook group and in her social circle of basically women saying, like, oh, I'm now I've decided I'm a lesbian. I haven't been out with anybody. I've never kissed a woman. I've never dated a woman. But now I'm a lesbian. Now that just doesn't make someone a lesbian.
No.
As much as wishful thinking.
But also the idea of there's two bits to the story. There's the stats across all women and the bit that she's talking about middle-aged women. And I think if you're annoyed by your husband and therefore you become a lesbian, you just weren't into willies that much anyway.
Yes, I think that's
true.
Yeah.
But what I really like is in the title part of it, right at the beginning, it says the real reason so many straight middle-aged women are becoming lesbians, and then they give a colon before saying Julie Bindel, and it looks like they're saying that's the reason. Oh, she is causing this to happen alone.
She definitely wants to sort of say she's very. There's an statement she says in an ideal world, any woman should be able to come out at whatever age and feel happy with her choice. I agree with that. Of course they should. Like, no one should be living in the closet, living a life they don't want to live. But it's more like this article reads, in an ideal world, every woman should be coming. That feels more what the article seems to be saying in terms of how rubbish men are. There's also some very contradictory stuff here about... There's, like, possibly boosted by those, like the stereotype she mentions about how men supposedly age better. That is a ridiculous stereotype. Better than women and become silver foxes. Many midlife men instead shun exercise and then just don't bathe, essentially, is what she's saying. Whereas women, actually... eat healthier, lose weight and use good skin products. So she sort of says there's a stereotype that men look better, but actually women look better and men are all stinky fatties. Yeah. Is the gist of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the stinky fatties go after you, Julie.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, I, in my ear, have the producer say, you know, like, you've spent now 20 minutes talking about this article.
Do another 10.
But
we can do another 10.
This is the article that just keeps on giving. It makes me so deliriously happy. Yeah. Because I really do think that this is...
It's a sign of the times for you, isn't it?
I just like... It's just like we're going back to the 90s. I love it.
Do you like the bit where she says, basically, I don't blame men, and then just lists why men are bad? Like, that is blaming men. You're doing the thing that you've said you're not.
Men are rubbish. Like, I'd be a lesbian if I was a woman.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
you know,
that'd be a really good one.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any truth, before we move on, to this idea she talks about the spectrum of it being somewhat easier... I don't know if easier is the right word, but, like... that women's sexuality is slightly more on a spectrum than men are, or not?
I would say that one day we get this headline, and the next day we get one about trad wives coming back and wanting the old ways. So it's just what's on the top front of the rag today.
I think it is more malleable for women, whereas sadly we are just set in our ways.
We are.
Without prison, we wouldn't change.
We're just big, fat, stinky. Fat men.
Yep.
We'll come back in a couple of minutes where we're going to be doing the front page of The Guardian. We also have some really interesting stories inside the papers, including Downing Street saying that grooming gang scandal is being weaponised. Who said it? See you in a couple of minutes. Hi, Julie.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast every day from 6 a.m.
He's not just the first Brit, he's the first European, is that right, to win the Grand Slam?
To win the Grand Slam. See, the Grand Slam is something that's never really mentioned because it's so rare to win all 4 majors. Well, this is what I was going to head to. Can you get closer, get back into... We can hang out with Rory for a while?
Rory would be our mate.
He would be great. I think he'd get on great with us.
I tell you what he is. He's the most ordinary guy. You meet him. I remember one night, he just he's good company.
Yeah.
And I always thought that there was a weakness with him, that he was too friendly with too many people.
Yeah.
I mean, people I'll not name, but I remember, you know, people at the height of their career, and they're watching games, or they're watching... I remember once at the snooker tournament, walking up to a player and saying, incidentally, when this is over, could I... And he just said, shut your mouth.
You are kidding me.
Did. Yeah, he turned
Is he alive or is he dead?
Oh, he's very famous. And he said to me, never... And he was wearing sunglasses, and he took them off. He said, never, ever interrupt me when I'm watching snooker. And, you know, but I learned something from that,
yeah,
you know?
But come on.
I mean, it's rude, but you can kind of understand that some people need to kind of psychologically protect them. I don't know. And it must be frustrating sometimes when people interrupt you. But on the other hand,
but for me,
be a
Mary,
nice
there's
guy.
no except bad
no,
manners.
I know.
There's no excuse for bad manners.
No, that's right.
At least you go, look, sorry, but...
I'm just concentrating at the moment. Can you speak to me later or something like
please,
that?
will you shut up?
But you were saying yesterday, I mean, he's now, you know, one of the most famous, one of the most successful people from Northern Ireland. I think there was even a suggestion he should do an open-top bus tour.
Well, that was me yesterday.
Oh, was it you?
I think
Okay.
absolutely should, yeah.
Why?
Eamon...
Not today, it's raining.
Eamon will be driving the bus, and there'll be Rory there.
I have a bus with my picture on it.
I know, yes, I know. That's what they want. They just have the Eamon bus, Rory on the top, and
nobody on.
waving.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners. We're going to go straight to the front page of The Guardian, Steve.
They have some Pope news. The wait goes on, black smoke billows in Vatican. This would be a terrible time to have an actual fire in the Vatican, because no one would do anything, would they? They just go, oh, all right, come back tomorrow.
Good. Yeah, looks like good news.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely terrible. Well, I'm 80% of watching Conclave just because I thought it saves reading this story, so I'll know how the system works.
Did you watch Conclave then?
I've not watched all the way.
You're 80% through, so you don't know the twist.
I don't know the big twist yet. So don't tell me the twist. Everyone's going, oh, you'll love the twist. Shimmer the twist.
Yeah, the twist is kind of...
Can you tell us how it ends with smoke?
Yes.
Well, the twist... Yeah, OK, I'm not going to say the twist,
yes,
but...
please, I'm going to watch it tomorrow night.
Spoiler.
Turns out that they're Jewish.
Dun, dun, dun. They do what in the woods?
No.
When are we going to have a Jewish pope, really?
Well, they've happened in the past.
Anti-Semitism.
They've happened in the past.
Can I just say, every time we talk about this, though, I'm reminded of Lemmy's tweet about this.
Which
David Lemmy with his...
That's great.
It's so good. Do we really need...
You said Lemmy.
I did for a second.
Yeah.
Do we really need silly innuendo about the race of the next pope when they were talking about black... it's one of those things where if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Everything looks like racism.
Everything has got to be related to ethnicity. Yeah.
Yes. The suspense is killing us all, isn't it? So it's more black smoke at the moment. We don't know what's happening, and it's odd that it's just so fascinating in this day and age that a global religion is waiting on chimney smoke to make a decision. So
we
don't know what's going to happen. Whether the new pope will want the Pope Mobile back from Gaza.
Well, it's all about whether it's back to traditional. Yeah, well, this is what's happened. Exactly, the Pope Mobile being sent.
Yes.
But whether it is going to be a sort of return to more traditional Catholicism or continuing, because 80% of the cardinals were put in place by the previous pope.
Sure.
Is it just Batman and the Pope that have mobiles?
Good question.
It's an interesting observation there.
Yeah, it's very insightful.
It can't be a coincidence.
You're not going to get that on any other channels. Right, let's go to this one. Farage is the fight of our lives. Dun, 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 dun. Labour told.
Yeah, I mean, they're right, that is an area of battle. But the news seems to be obsessed with somehow reform taking over. Having a cough, I've had that for a month, mate. Trust me. We seem to be obsessed with the idea of Labour battling reform. Reform will never replace Labour like they could replace the Tories. There are some people within the broad church of Labour that are on the cusp of being Green voters. They're never going to flip to being reformers. And it's also true, we should remember, if it's not a general election, there's a big whiff of protest vote in the vote. So Reform did well. They are like the Uber protest vote. They've weaponised being a protest vote very successfully, picking on the issues, not necessarily in this right versus left thing. You can't go to the right of Reform. You've got to pick the individual topics, which is kind of what Labour are doing. We'll come to it on another front page with some other plans to be a bit tougher on immigration. That's the only thing they could do.
Yeah, right. Well, look, let's go to the Mirror VE Day. Kerry?
It's VE Day.
Yep. Tomorrow's VE Day.
And as world remembers end of World War, and we're not sure because the page kind of cuts off there. So it could be
one of two.
It's one of two, probably. Yeah. In Europe, veterans call for peace. Our war-torn times, and this cartoon echoes the Mirror cartoon from this day in 1945. I don't know whether that is the Mirror cartoon from 1945. Whether it echoes it. Are you clear on that?
I think this is the cartoon from back in the day.
It's not echoing it then at all. It just is it.
It is it. But I think the point is the sentiment is echoed down through the decades, near century, and of course and with victory and peace in Europe, and obviously that's not...
Don't lose it again, which we are losing it again, and we're also not sure whether anything from the Middle East is also going to come this way, and we're in an age where everyone is accusing everyone else of being a Nazi for every little reason.
And they said here at the top, learn from the past, be peacemakers. Well, it's not like we're out there being warmongers.
Yeah.
I don't know what lesson we, the British people, need to learn here. We didn't... we're not Putin. I don't know. I mean, at some point you have to be peacemakers, and you also have to try and help people who are being invaded.
They should send a copy of this to Putin, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, send their free copy. Right, well, look, let's look at some of the stories inside the newspapers. Let's go to the Daily Mail, Kerry, and if pointing out something that someone else seems to be trying to conceal is weaponising it, then can you please stop weaponising those donuts you brought in earlier?
Is that what this is?
Yeah.
This is the ongoing story. That Downing Street says grooming gang scandal is being weaponised as Labour minister faces calls to resign after branding it a dog whistle issue. This was Commons leader Lucy Powell on BBC Radio 4's Any Questions. I'll read out again. What she said was, oh, we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Which was probably somewhat inadvisable.
That's my sex talk, by the way.
Is it?
Nice.
Yeah.
And no one's surprised.
That's my nickname, the little trumpet.
I was going to say the missus won't like the reference to dog whistle, I imagine.
Well, it just that's the sound it makes.
Telling us way more than we need to know. There's calls for her to resign, including from Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phillips, and the Labour Party's. It seems to reflect whether the Labour Party's in on this, or not in on it, or rather just trying to avoid the whole thing. Reports, evidence, survivor testimony, and the government's still sort of acting like it's a rumour they heard in a pub and not sure what to do. And I felt that Starmer was really gaslighting victims when he made that speech. I think it was a week or two ago, just saying the victims don't want an inquiry.
That was months ago.
Staggering in itself.
I know, it was insane.
To say what they wanted.
But what's interesting about this particular article, Steve, is I cannot seem to find who said it's being weaponised. They sort of said, oh, Number 10 are saying, and I love also they said, Sir Keir Starmer's Downing Street. It's like Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
It's like who here has actually used the word weaponised? Because every time they write it, they kind of put it in quotation marks. Yet there's no direct quote that says who is weaponising it. There's no doubt that this is not helping the fact that they're saying stop using Lucy Powell, the political, it's sort of squared.
I think you're right. They're using the word weaponised. No one else has used it, but they're referring to when Keir Starmer was saying the far right are going about this, but he didn't say weaponised. I think, look, it's interesting that she was simply asked if she'd seen a Channel 4 documentary, avoided answering it on a show called Any Questions. Come on, answer the... Did you see the documentary or not?
Any questions but grooming gangs.
Apart from that one. And this is one of those things where it's another set theory fail, right? All A's are B's doesn't mean all B's are C's. All racists will definitely think this is a thing we should talk about. But talking about it doesn't make you racist. That's the way... It's not that... If you can't get your head around that, you shouldn't be on Radio 4 failing to answer any questions.
Or possibly be an MP.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, fine. More mail, Steve. Police were too slow to stop fake news before they could put out the slant that they wanted on the news.
Yeah. Police were too slow to counter the fake news that fuelled Southport riots. This is a report by top officer. And in some part, it's right. Part of this is saying there needs to be swifter control by Ofcom to delete false tweet. You won't be quick enough. By the time you've worked out what is and isn't true, it's too late. The thing that they do talk about is getting real info out there. That could have had a material difference. If, as soon as people were saying, the attacker is X, Y, and Z, a migrant, whatever, put the truth out there, you can say what the person isn't, because the argument is, if there's about to be a court case, you don't want a lot of information out in there that could bias the trial, because then you can get a mistrial called by this person's lawyer, and that's not justice. You don't want to see an attacker get off through this. But you can put information out there that would stop the link between this thing that everyone is appalled by and setting fire to a hotel.
Well, I'm terrified here, Kerry, because Sir Andy Cook, the Chief Inspector of the Constabulary, that's what he's essentially saying is we need to get better at deleting this stuff. Rather than... he does, as you say, Steve, sort of focus on getting the truth out there, but it seems like he keeps on talking about all the misinformation, the disinformation, and how the posts were left up too long. As you say, what do you think? The same thing?
What I think actually is...
Put the truth out there.
I think what he's talking about would have worked in this situation, but it's not a long-term plan, because what he means is they should have emphasised that the perpetrator was Welsh and a British citizen and Christian convert, and that would have stopped this from happening. But that doesn't help in the next situation, because what's really causing the public consternation is the secrecy, the euphemism, the visible fear of what's going on,
before,
which is adding to it. So, and I think there's something we saw also from that programme Groomed. It's interesting that the police weren't necessarily just being racist. They were afraid of public unrest, so much so that they didn't want to put out the truth. And we see this a lot. We're seeing this across Europe. We see that when an immigrant gets into a car and drives into a crowd of people, then the headline is, a vehicle has driven into a crowd of people.
Vehicle murders.
Yeah, and the public trust is being eroded because it's not what the police say, it's what they won't say that is, I think, causing this reaction.
Absolutely. So we're going to be going in a moment to the front page of the Times. We're also going to be looking at this is a terrible story about this young councillor, Labour councillor, who basically said that taxis should have CCTV footage or cameras put in them, and then everybody accused her of being racist, and then they were abusive towards her about her being Jewish. Anyway. It's a very, very sad and interesting story. You want to come back and see it in a couple of minutes. Please.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, high pressure clings on, leaving lots of pleasant weather, feeling warm in the sunshine. That's away from eastern coasts, though, always a bit cooler here. That's all thanks to high pressure dragging in a northeasterly flow across these areas, so bringing more of a breeze, more cloud, making things feel a little bit chillier. Always warmest in the west. And as we head through this evening, we're once again going to see more cloud drifting into the east. This cloud thick enough to produce some showers at times, but on the whole, across much of the country, it should remain largely dry. Plenty of clear skies across Scotland and Northern Ireland, so even a touch of frost by the time we reach the morning. So it is going to be a chilly start as we head into Thursday morning. Largely dry, though, across Scotland, though plenty of cloud across the very far north. This could be thick enough to produce some showers, and it may just be a little bit breezy across northeastern coasts. But across Northern Ireland, once again, largely dry and bright, but still a few showers feeding into northeast England. Elsewhere across the southeast too, can't rule out some showers here, but across the large majority of England and Wales, it should be a largely dry and fine start to the day. And that's pretty much the setup through the course of Thursday. We'll see a mix of cloud, some brighter spells, still the occasional shower across the far north of England, and a little bit breezy at times too across the very far southeast. But by the afternoon, some sunshine poking through that cloud. And once again, it's western areas that sees the best of the temperatures, highs of around 19 degrees, but only just about clipping into the mid-teens across the east. For Friday, it's likely we'll see some mist and fog to start. Once again, a chilly start to the day, but brightening up nicely through the course of the day, seeing plenty of sunshine, just some thicker clouds starting to creep into the northwest. Once again, this may produce the odd light shower, but otherwise it should be largely dry and fine, and staying that way into the weekend, temperatures creeping up into the mid-20s by the time we reach Sunday. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You have the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's go to the Times, Steve.
Times has, which one to start with first? This one. All migrants will have to be fluent in English. Tighter rules will insist on language ability close to A-level standard. This is Labour trying to toughen up its stance on immigration, because it's trying to, in some areas, out Farage. It's not just this thing, it's about how long you'd have to stay in the UK, questions over how much time you can spend abroad. But I'm very much in favour of this. I also think people who live in England should have to also take this test, because people... yes. It's not could of, it's could have. If you can't do that one, you should be sent away. So I'm very much in favour of this. I mean, Americans wouldn't be allowed to...
It's the equivalent of A-levels as a foreign language as opposed to English as a primary language. So.
Splitting infinitives left, right and
there is a little loophole that I might have seen straight away. Now, this is for work visas, Kerry.
Yeah.
That does make sense that people who come over here to work here should have a very high standard of English. But when we're talking about family members, and what we've seen in certain communities is partners, wives, just not being able to speak English at all. This doesn't deal with...
Right, and first of all, this might be a bit racist, but I'd like to hear people who don't come here but work in call centres abroad that we have to call speaking better English as well would be quite nice. It used to be a thing that migrants... We used to joke about the fact that migrants came over and spoke better English than we did. But, of course, now they're coming over in such large numbers, they don't need to as much, so this has become more of a thing. There are apps that can do it, though, now. I don't think you really need... You can have your phone on the right app and it's doing all the translations, so I'm not sure whether we really need it as much. And I can't really speak... I do think it's a good thing, but at the same time, I'm terrible with languages. I wouldn't be able to do it. I can't expect someone else to do something I wouldn't. I tried learning Spanish once. You know what? It's really tiring. I understand why they have siestas. They must be exhausted.
I'm genuinely trying to learn English, like my one word a day. Gloaming.
Gloaming.
It's like dusk, essentially. The light.
Isn't it weird? Most new words you've never heard before seem a bit sexual.
Well, exactly. Why do I even... When am I going to ever use gloaming?
Did you gloam today? Did you have a good gloam last night?
I shall now be able to claim that off my taxes, that app. So that's
sure that doesn't happen.
There's a good story here, how curious old dogs can be taught new tricks. This is about encouraging older people to get into dogging, if I've read that.
Well, it says that people are still curious in middle age, which explains all the, car keys in fruit bowls. But it's not about dogs, which is such a shame. I thought this was going to be, you can literally teach tricks to old dogs. People can still learn. No, of course you can. There is an issue of neuroplasticity, which is one of the reasons I won't learn a language. I think if you learn a language when you're a kid, you do it really well. If I tried now, as I'm in my late 40s, the best I could hope for is sounding like a toddler with problems. So why would you bother trying to learn languages? It's way too late. It's neuroplasticity, the way you can learn stuff changes. But yeah, you can still learn stuff when you get older.
So
Who
it's
would have thought?
interesting because there's the trait curiosity, which is all about learning about anything in the world. And then there's this state curiosity. So the idea, which is about specific stuff. Now, there's the old axiom that the older you get, the more you know about less and less. And this seems to confirm that. You have a hobby, history, board games, comic books, whatever it is.
Those are all yours?
Yes.
Without the history.
Also learning the names of my children over and over again. But that seems to be what this article is saying, is you remain curious, but it's just about the stuff that you're interested in.
And also that you're interested in learning still as you get older, but they're just proving that... I don't know, we often get these studies that say that adage isn't true. The saying isn't exactly... And the saying, of course, never meant that. It never meant that old people can't learn. It just meant that they get stuck in their ways, It's why your nan doesn't want to use a debit card because she doesn't trust plastic. But it's just an expression. It's like when people say... If scientists went out and say, you can make a horse drink, you can take it to water, and if you hold his head under long enough, it will drink eventually, which, of course, it will. We know that, curiosity doesn't actually kill most cats. It's not a fact. Right? It's not a fact, it's just a saying.
And all of those
you don't need
sayings...
scientists to tell us it's not fact.
Most of those sayings rhyme. And what are the odds that most true things
That would rhyme, yeah.
Makes
Exactly.
sense.
Very interesting.
All right, well,
you should tell the
go.
scientists that.
What's the iPaper got for us, Kerry?
Well, nuclear warning of Pakistan and India urged to step back from a brink of war. It's kicking off. It's kicking off as they're playing chicken with each other. And 80 years of hope. Europe stops to remember VE Day, 12-page souvenir supplement. And we have a picture of the front page of the supplement, I guess, to get us going.
Yeah, I'll keep that, yeah.
And I think the rest of it's all about everyone in that picture.
There's a thing on the side that says dozens of council workers caught doing multiple jobs with work from home blamed. You know, everyone's been going on about productivity. We've finally increased it, and they're moaning about it.
Interesting. So, Kerry, the Telegraph has Labour up to its old tricks inside the newspaper.
Well, I'll tell you what this one is. Taxi racism row forces youngest Labour councillor to quit. So this is Daisy Blakemore Creedon, 19, and she left Peterborough City Council Labour group. Basically, she suggested the idea of putting cameras in taxis, obviously to protect the public and to protect taxi drivers from accusations, which we see loads of these on TikTok.
And also
we see loads of
you see them as being assaulted.
What's that?
Taxi drivers.
Yeah, totally. TikTok's full of there's loads of these ones of someone gets in the cab and then they get really nasty. But then it turned out the council turned on her, told her she was racist because most of the taxi drivers are Asian. They started getting anti-Semitic with her. It's odd that we put cameras everywhere for safety. You know, we have them on bins. You know, we have them on street lamps. But the idea of putting them in a locked metal box where a woman is with a stranger who knows where she lives is somehow absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah.
So
she was cute. Her mum's Jewish, and basically she was getting anti-Semitic comments talking about how she was.
I didn't say she was Jewish, but I'm assuming if they got anti-Semitic with her and she wasn't, that would be even
there are people
who've
accused people of who've been anti-Semitic people who actually they're not Jewish.
Yeah. People don't do research. So.
Yeah, exactly. But saying they're on the payroll of Benjamin Netanyahu, even though this council has never talked about anything to do with Israel or anything. Yeah. And I think what's disturbing for me is the fact that Labour don't seem to have done anything about it.
No.
It's gone back to the sort of Corbyn era.
It's just a bizarre story. She suggests putting cameras somewhere when there's cameras everywhere, and their reaction was Jew. And then they've said, the Labour Party spokesman said, all complaints are assessed thoroughly in line with the Labour Party's rules and procedures, which I think was a line that came from the Corbyn era. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, they're against all forms of racism.
Yes, of course.
Just say, though, are you not upset that she clearly nicked the idea, putting a camera in a taxi? Have you ever heard of fake taxi? That's what they did.
That is niche. Now, Kerry is looking a bit befuddled here.
Do you know that? I'm not going to explain it.
I don't know what the reference is.
I'm not going to explain it.
You have
it's
to
a
now.
naughty reference.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, well, I don't know about naughty things.
Very good. I will also say about this person, because for Ofcom reasons, she's 18. She was 18 when she was a councillor. I'm very suspicious of, like, young politician types. Whichever party they belong to.
William Hague in a baseball cap. It was wrong.
You're right.
They go out there, get drunk.
But you know what? I think they should put a camera on council meetings. That will tell us more.
Right. Steve, The Guardian has an actress who suddenly remembers that men and women are different if it means not getting an award.
Women wouldn't get nominated. Last of a Star, Bella Ramsey says award shows need male and female categories. But do they, though? You know, in running, there's a difference. You get a women's category in running because, if we're being brutally honest, women aren't as quick as men at running 100 metres. So if it was just one open category, there'd only be men in it. But there's no biological advantage to acting. There's no kind of, clearly...
Women would have a better... you know, they're more empathetic.
You saved yourself there, haven't you? Drama. They love a bit of drama. I thought that's where you were going.
You know, there is... You know, they're better at lying.
That's the other
channeling
option.
Louis Schaefer here.
Right.
Hopefully Julie Bindle's still watching. She can write the next article about me.
But I don't... Look, if we didn't have individualised sexual categories for acting, because there's no biological advantage, award ceremonies would be shorter, we could all go home. She's saying that women wouldn't get nominated. There's no evidence for this. There are loads of musical awards where there's not men and women ones, and you still get women nominated.
No, that's not what happened. They got rid of the female category, and suddenly loads of women were not being nominated.
But you still get some of them in there. It's all... You know, you need some to say you can still get votes.
I mean, you could also argue there's different types of roles.
Different types of women.
Different types of women.
But why do you genuinely think you need to have women...
I think it just gives more scope for women to be recognised, which is...
It was also simple. everything was working. Just a few years ago, there was a couple of categories through everything, and it all worked. And now suddenly we've changed it around, and now we can't put things even back together without upsetting people.
But you have best director, you don't have best female director.
You have
why do the actors?
Okay, and we're going to come around to best performance by a human identifying as a performer. But it's what this is also it's complicated because it's complicated because you remember in Hollywood people are statistically more likely to have non-binary babies, right? So you have to allow for this now. And I'm not saying
this person's non-binary.
Right,
by the way, supposedly Last of Us is totally rubbish now. They've got rid of that man. And they've made it all go super duper work.
Last of them, more like.
What? Yeah, it's the perfect. It's basically Julie Bindle's sort of heaven.
It's a dream
all
coming out, being played out for real.
Women and zombies. Right, coming up after the break, we're going to be looking at what's going on the front page of The Sun. We also have a bunch more stories, including the Aristocat diet and Disney pledging to make content. Well, actually, you know what? I'm not going to read the headline because I want you to come back so badly. See you in a couple of minutes.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled spell across parts of Europe, particularly across the Alps and southeastern Europe, where they're going to experience heavy showers and thunderstorms over the next few days. An area of low pressure could drag in some showers later across Madeira and Tenerife. Plenty of showers across Portugal and Spain, but it's really across the Alps, southeastern parts of Europe, where these showers are going to be particularly heavy and possibly thundery. Now, it should be largely dry across Greece and largely dry for all from Sunday, with temperatures in the low 20s, so feeling pleasant in the sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Thank you very much for sticking with us. We're going to go straight to The Sun, Steve.
They've got Liam's £24 million for son Bear 8. Star had no will. Fortune goes to lad. I mean, I've been through, obviously not the same levels of money, but with my sister who passed away without a will. So if you need any help, I got good at doing all that probate stuff. So yeah, get in touch.
OK, well,
I didn't know this rule, though, that if you don't leave a will, this goes to the next of kin. Is that automatic, is it?
Yeah.
OK, so my family should know I haven't left a will, but I'm leaving none of you anything either. Anyway, there's nothing there.
Magic tricks.
Unlucky.
Former
Some magic tricks, yeah. There's a few packs of cards.
It's interesting that that's the big story, because there's a tiny little story. Judges' bogus asylum blitz. So basically, judges will be ordered to ignore dodgy human rights claims.
Yeah, right to family life and love of chicken nuggets was all the recent one.
That's like the tiny story, and also no one else seems to have covered it.
But this is the story that will ruin the Telegraph. They've been slowly releasing the stories of bizarre things. Yeah, they'll have to shut down.
What are they going to do? They're going to have to go out there and find a whole new avenue.
That's that one done with.
Let's go to the Daily Star.
Never forget, VE Day, 80 years on, souvenir edition, which we've talked about already, except we haven't mentioned the souvenir edition of the Daily Star, which I'm sure will be really popular with people who read the Daily Star.
I just think it's so weird. Like, who's going to buy the souvenir edition, like, specifically of the Star?
Yeah.
Like, they want to remember VE Day
Josh.
and then have some boobs on the inside.
Well, I don't know. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Apparently, middle-aged women will be doing exactly that.
I guess so. Well, look, let's have a look at a couple more stories inside the newspapers. We're going to go to the Mail, Steve, and open wide and let the train through the tunnel. Choo-choo!
That was a lovely mental image you just gave me. Teenagers will be allowed to drive trains in a bid to beat staff shortages that cause 9 out of 10 night before cancellations. So the idea is they don't have enough workers. They've got this bizarre system where you rely on people doing overtime to run your basic service. That makes no sense to me. So instead, they're going to let 18-year-olds drive. I don't know if you've heard about the Gen Z work ethic. There's going to be just as many cancellations because they don't feel like turning. Apparently, it takes 2 years to learn to be a train driver. I don't drive a train. I don't know how difficult it is. But I do know, like, you can learn quantum mechanics in 3 years. So it's two-thirds of quantum mechanics.
It takes 3 months to learn how to do it, and it takes 1 year and 3/4 to learn how to strike and get more money.
That's what it is. They are good.
I want to do the course just to find out what they're teaching for 2 years.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard train driver sat-nav? Just in 2 miles, follow the track. Then follow the track. Keep following the track. They're having driver shortages. Women aren't... only 90% of drivers are female. Women have to make more effort. And they're getting so desperate, the next step is going to be just letting the passengers take turns. I don't know why... I suppose it's not. It's well paid. It's not a very exciting job.
24 grand, but it's up. The average is £70,000.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You've seen the adverts? Join the railways, go places, same places, over and over. See tunnels, meet no one. Do you like isolation?
But all kids want to be train drivers, so you get them at that right age.
Oh, so maybe they're not starting young. Maybe 18. Maybe they need to be more like 6 or something.
Yeah.
Well, look,
It doesn't work with astronauts either, you know.
One more story. Guardian, Kerry, and you are what you eat.
The aristocrat diet. I can't get my mouth around that one. Why do posh people eat such beige, bland, boring food? So basically, the article, posh people are bland, as this article is, and this is written by a woman who spent some time around posh people. She's an Australian food stylist, Annabelle Bauer.
Telling us what to eat.
Yeah, it doesn't say how long she was around them either. It might have been for a day or something. But basically, she's saying that amongst the aristocrats, flavour is considered vulgar and seasoning is a working-class conspiracy. And she's basically this deep undercover agent who's hung out with the British aristocracy and come out with this scoop. They eat carrots, sometimes raw.
Have you heard anything about the aristocrat diet, that they eat like their carrots whole?
No, but I eat bland food as well, so I don't know why I'm not posh. Is this how it works?
It doesn't work backwards.
Because you know that spice isn't a flavour. It triggers the pain receptors on your tongue. So you could save yourself money eating a sandwich and just gripping a drawing pin. So it's the same system that just lets you know when you've stood on Legos.
Never going to catch it. If that's your new cafe idea.
There we go. Well, look, the show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Thursday's front pages. Telegraph, £4 million a day. True cost of housing migrants. The Sun, Liam's £24 million for son Bear. The Mirror, here you are, don't lose again. The Times, all migrants will have to be fluent in English. The Guardian, Pakistan vows to strike back after Indian missile attacks kills dozens. And the Daily Star, never forget. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you very much to my guests, Steve and Kerry. I'm back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Paul Cox and Nick Dixon. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast and have a wonderful day. And thank you very, very much for sticking with us to the very end. Bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, high pressure clings on, leaving lots of pleasant weather, feeling warm in the sunshine. That's away from eastern coasts, though, always a bit cooler here. That's all thanks to high pressure dragging in a northeasterly flow across these areas, so bringing more of a breeze, more cloud, making things feel a little bit chillier. Always warmest in the west. And as we head through this evening, we're once again going to see more cloud drifting into the east. This cloud thick enough to produce some showers at times, but on the whole, across much of the country, it should remain largely dry. Plenty of clear skies across Scotland and Northern Ireland, so even a touch of frost by the time we reach the morning. So it is going to be a chilly start as we head into Thursday morning. Largely dry, though, across Scotland, though plenty of cloud across the very far north. This could be thick enough to produce some showers, and it may just be a little bit breezy across northeastern coasts. But across Northern Ireland, once again, largely dry and bright, but still a few showers feeding into northeast England. Elsewhere across the southeast too, can't rule out some showers here, but across the large majority of England and Wales, it should be a largely dry and fine start to the day. And that's pretty much the setup through the course of Thursday. We'll see a mix of cloud, some brighter spells, still the occasional shower across the far north of England, and a little bit breezy at times too across the very far southeast. But by the afternoon, some sunshine poking through that cloud. And once again, it's western areas that sees the best of the temperatures, highs of around 19 degrees, but only just about clipping into the mid-teens across the east. For Friday, it's likely we'll see some mist and fog to start. Once again, a chilly start to the day, but brightening up nicely through the course of the day, seeing plenty of sunshine, just some thicker clouds starting to creep into the northwest. Once again, this may produce the odd light shower, but otherwise it should be largely dry and fine, and staying that way into the weekend, temperatures creeping up into the mid-20s by the time we reach Sunday. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner on the road in this brand new Alnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home